Hello everybody, it's Isaac. I'm just doing a voiceover this time because I did the video and I only had my GoPro and I don't like exactly the audio quality out of that. So I've got the coasters all laser etched and this is just me doing that. I already had the file all made up for the designs and all, so I'd done some test runs and brought them into work and showed them to her and she was happy with them. So I'm not going to have, and excuse me, I'm just winded right now. I'm not going to have a video showing exactly how I make the pattern itself, but it's just a vector drawing and I use Corel Draw to do that. You can use Inkscape or not Inkscape, Illustrator. Illustrator does it, and then there's other programs as well, but the program that I use is Corel. And right now all I'm doing in the video here is line them up in the top corner of the cutting field, as well as scaling the sizes to be 2.5 inches wide because my coaster's center portion is 3 inches wide and that gives me clearance on either side. That if it's not perfectly centered, it doesn't matter too much. Now right now you can actually see I'm figuring out exactly where the center of the square there is, and I did that by making a square that I thought ran to the center and then running or duplicating that square and sticking it in the kitty corner to that. And then right where they overlap, the center is the center of the larger square, the size of my coaster. And as long as I don't have much to talk about with wedding coasters, starting next week, I'm going to be uploading the Close Encounter with the Dinosaur, which is my first longer, that's like 14 minutes long, video that I made. And it's just going to be just that one part because it's 14 minutes long. And then the following week, I will be in the meantime, however, so now what I am doing is I'm marking the center of my coaster. This is a sample coaster. It had a nasty gouge on the back side of it. But what I did was I ran corner to corner and then rotated it 90 degrees and corner to corner and drew a line on each of those areas and where they intersect is the center of it. I am now checking the distance between the laser and my coaster. It should be a 2-inch clearance, and that allows the focal point of the laser to be at maximum cutting distance and power. So now that I have it centered in there, what I'm going to do is actually cut out. I drew a little square right where the two larger squares intersected, which should be right where the center of that coaster is. What I'm going to do is print out just that little square so that I can line that up with the center point that I just marked off on the coaster, that I can get my design centered on my coasters. And I just have to push the coasters in right up into the top corner and it all lines up perfectly. So right now, what you can sort of see I'm doing is I am actually programming the laser for what the color that I'm using is. Right now I'm using a red line, and I have to tell the printer that red line means you should cut this fast, you should use this much power, and you should use this many points per inch or dots per inch as you're printing. Sort of like the regular printer, you have your dots per inch, and that'll signify quality build or quality of your print. Well, with the laser cutter, it doesn't just have a continual beam of light, it actually shoots it out in little pulses, and you can control how rapidly it shoots those little pulses of light out. So I don't remember offhand what settings I had used for these particular ones, but once it's done, you would generally just hit start, which on this particular machine, the start button is supposed to hit resume, but generally you would hit start on most functioning machines. And let's see what's going on now. and it's already done. So now I can go look at it and see exactly, and it was off a little bit. So then I measured how much it was off, that I can go back into Corel and shift the whole thing over just that little bit, that I can have them centered while the coaster is just pushed up against the guide rails on the side of the laser cutter. And once again, once that's done, so you have to hit resume, and that'll start the file. And it runs on over there, cuts it out. And so now, as we slowly zoom in, now it's actually cutting out my design. And as I'd mentioned in the previous video, you can do either a vector cut or the raster cut. Right now I am doing a vector, and as you can see, the larger carriage is moving back and forth, so front to back inside of the laser cutter, and then the head where the laser actually ends up emitting from is also moving left to right at the same time. And what that will do is it's actually tracing out all of my lines, and it's only moving where it needs to actually cut. Whereas with the raster, it'll go back and forth, and it'll only shoot out the little beams of light where they're needed, but it'll still move on top of the rest of the piece. So this ends up saving a lot of time because it only cuts, or it only moves where it needs to cut the material. And I say cut and engrave interchangeably. If I had a piece of paper in here, it would be cutting that paper, because you don't need a lot of power to cut paper, but because it's wood, it's going to be engraving it instead of cutting it. So that's basically how I do these. Now back to the sneak peek for next week. So I've got the Close Encounter with the Dinosaur, that'll be next week. The following week on Tuesday, it will be Close Encounter with Fame, which is the second installment of the trilogy. And that's broken up into two separate parts. So one part will be up on Tuesday, and then the next part will be up on Wednesday. And then the week following that is the third part of Close Encounter, which is Close Encounter with Man. And that one will be being posted on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That one I've broken down into 4 parts because that's how I was editing it, because the actual video itself is over an hour long, and the program that I used to edit it didn't like having all of that stuff stored in memory at a time. So those will be for the next 3 weeks, and then multiple days during the week that they will be becoming available for you guys. The reasoning behind why I did all of that is I'm going to be camping starting July 4th, and I'm going to be doing video, or filming as I get my car ready and stuff to go camping. I'm going to be driving down to Kentucky, which is, well, I'm up in Wisconsin, so that's a 6 or 7 hour drive. And so I will be working on that, getting ready, and I will be filming some of that stuff, but I'm not going to be having time to edit the videos and then upload them. So I will end up having those in post once I'm back from camping.